India Fact quizzes, Game of Facts. Now, I can't wait every Saturday evening, exactly at 5 p.m., to just turn on the camera and unmute myself because we get to tackle 10 interesting questions and get to know 10 fascinating facts. And every time and every week, we actually start working on the questions. It's like we're spoiled for choice. We never know which question we should leave behind because for us, all of them are equally important. So we bring the best of the best to you every Friday at 5 p.m. and every Saturday at 5 p.m. Thank you all for taking time out and joining us today. It's really, really valuable. And it's something that's very important collectively because we believe that we're really on the path to change. And for change to really happen, it has to be all of us together. And for us to do this together, well, we need to be equipped with information, and information just based on opinion or what someone's ideology is not really the way we feel that it's best to go forward. We feel that data and evidence is very critical if we really have to make progress and change in this country. So whatever information that we bring to you is really all that's hidden somewhere in some government document, and it's our job to really pull it out there. Aroni's asking when's she going to get her book. Well, yes, I do hope the backlog's decreasing a bit, but we are headquartered in Bombay. And as you know, Bombay did go through a very severe lockdown. So it is easing up and we are getting the books out, but I'm afraid we're not really very efficient at that yet. So just be a little patient with us. But if you filled up your details in the Google form that circulates, then you should be in a good place and you should be able to get your book soonest. Rajiv's asking for the code, and don't worry, Rajiv, you're going to get the code and everything that goes with it because there's Shrish, there's Shiva, of course, there's Muskan today who's helping us with all the stuff at the back end. And Ritish, yes, you had asked me a favor, and it does so happen that sometimes, and this is really for everyone, and yes, I do owe you an explanation. I knew I would be meeting you here on Saturday, so what the heck. Sometimes you may have a book that you probably don't want, or you already have it, or you'd like something else. Please put that request to us. We really don't see a problem why we shouldn't be able to give you what you would want. Yes, these things do take time because then we'd like to pass on that book to somebody else. I mean, this is all books that are accounted, audited for. So we have to make sure that, you know, it's all adjusted for. Okay. Anyone else has any other requests? Just pop that in the chat box. I know a lot of you have taken part in this survey, and thank you all so much. That is a very, very, I mean, we're indebted. We're obliged to you for participating, and thank you all. Your feedback is just so critical because we are going into the next phase of you know, the quiz, and we want to make sure that any feedback, any suggestions are all factored in. Now, I know a lot of you also have questions because you have to get your Amazon vouchers, and you must. I think all of you have, you know, given us your time. It's been a fairly lengthy survey. Some of it was not very easy. So you must get your Amazon voucher, but there's a certain process to it. And we have Ipsos, who is our impact and evaluation partner, who will be taking care of this. So if you have any questions or queries, we're going to try and help you as much as we can. And we've tried to sort of take everything into account, and we want very much by the end of 2 weeks, each and every one of you who have participated in the survey have met the criteria. I know some of you are like, this is not fair. You know, I was 26 or 25 when I did the quiz, and now I'm 26 and I'm disqualified. Well, this is a little stringent because we are on a very tight program, and you'll understand why it's really the way it is as we go along. But just bear with us. I think by now you know us. And we will make sure that all the effort that you've put in doesn't sort of just go for nothing. And we're around. And yeah, like I said, every Friday, every Saturday at 5 p.m., we're all going to be around. And Sharvani, thank you for participating in the focus discussion. I cannot tell you how important the focus discussion groups are, because we really believe that India can, if India's youth are more action oriented, are more aware of the progress that our country is making, they will feel more invested in the progress that the country makes. And therefore, the change makers that India needs is really going to come from our youth. And so these focus group discussions are really among change makers. We believe each and every one of you are going to be change makers, and I'm just so it's a hypothesis right now, but we believe that, you know, if you are involved in your community, if you are interested and intrigued and want to know about your country, you will sort of participate in activities like this, want to know more, and then, you know, go on to bigger, better things. Saket, I hope you're taken care of. Dipankar, I know you had a query as well. I hope all of you are taken care of. The book that I have, Akash, good evening. The book no, I don't actually, it's Shrish who's curated this. And week on week, I think, okay, you know, what better book can he come up with this week? And he just blows, you know, our minds with the selection. And really, it's all of, you know, all the books that he picks up really have so much deeper meaning. And this book in particular, I must admit that I have not read it yet. And I think Akash is asking, is that a petal behind me in a frame? No, actually, that is not a petal. It's a leaf, which I went on a very special holiday. And as a remembrance of that place, I took that leaf, I put it in a book, came back, and then I wanted to remember that place forever. So I actually put it in a frame, and this leaf would be about 17 years old. Ishashri is asking Canada. No, actually, it was the Hyde Park in London. So sometimes, you know, these sentimental things become a little important. I'm sorry, I'm digressing. So the book that Shrish has selected for us this week, thank you, Mayur. You know, everything in life should have a little bit of meaning behind it, because then, and I'll come to that in a minute. So anyway, the book that he has for us this week is A Quest of Sparrows by Kartik Sharma. I must admit, I have not read it. But when I read the premise of the book, I was like, this could not have come at a better time, at least in my life. And it's really a journey of this individual who sets off across the country. It's a 600-kilometer journey without any food, without any belongings. And it is really in the search of spirituality. And then the encounters along the way, you know, those very, you know, the tug of war that we have all the time perpetually in our heads of, you know, is survival enough? Or is there a deeper meaning? Is there a higher cause for all of us living on this earth? And, you know, this book really unravels that one petal at a time. It sort of just comes across. And by the end of it, it's very interesting how, you know, the story pans out and leaves the reader, I believe, very, very satisfied and with a lot more, a lot to take from the book than, you know, you would have given in terms of time. All right, so that's the book that we have. It sounds lovely. Now, with that, I think we've come to the end of any of the announcements that we had to make. We're going to start dispersing Dipankar. Yes, I think that book in particular, the Jaduwalas, Jugglers, and the Jinns is a very interesting book as well. So we're going to now take 2 weeks to make sure that all of you get your Amazon vouchers and what have you. And it is going to be a bit of a process, but we'll get through this also. And just a little bit of patience, a little bit of humor. We're here every week, and you can always, every Friday and Saturday, ask us what's happened and what's the what's the story. When am I getting my voucher? Please remember, the survey comes to an end. The focus group discussions come to an end. However, this space is now going to be very active when we come to surveys and things like that, because we are going to be taking feedback right through the year, and we will make sure we do not take it for free, because we are using your time and you should be compensated for that. So yes, on to bigger things. We have the championship coming up this year, and there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff going on. We're going to have some guests coming on board and all of that jazz. But before we get into that, let's first tackle today's quiz. And with that, I'm now going to share my screen, and you're going to see your names on the screen. I hope by now you figured out that you need 2 devices, or you're going to be toggling 2 screens, and you need to get to www.kahoot with a K, KAHOOT.IT. Just put in your nickname, and you're going to be able to see the question and the options for the answers on your screen. I hope all of you have got the game pin. It's 1993753, Dipankar. I hope you've got that in. And thank you all so much for joining this week's Game of Facts. It's going to be an absolute fun ride. I am so sorry. Just give me a minute, please. I couldn't resist. I took you all to India Fact Quiz. Okay, all right, here we have it. This is the Game of Facts. And welcome Deepti, Shivam, Nitya, Dipankar, Darshan. It's always so nice to see you, Darshan. Good evening. Girish, Bharat, Satyam, Pammi, Aryan, Riya, Nyan, Nishant, Kartikeya. Hi, Kartikeya, Tanmay, Prem, Rahul, Adi, Harshit, Gargi, Udit. Where is our book reviewer? I was kind of waiting for you and getting a little stressed when you're going to be around. Thank you, Udit, for joining. Rahul, Hina, Devanji, Vanshika, Sudiksha, Akash, Sushil, Tom, Shivam, Nicey. Welcome, everyone. It's another week of Game of Facts, and I promise you this one is not going to be easy. So whatever scores you get, let me tell you, you are leagues apart from everyone else. And that I can say with absolute hand on the heart. All right, so with this, we get started. I just have 2 poll questions, fairly heavy duty ones. So forgive me, it's been a fairly dense week. And the question we're asking is, if you had a choice, would you rather be an academic, an entrepreneur, a corporate guy, or I said politician or bureaucrat because it's more like, governance kind of one? What would you prefer and where would you like to be? Okay, so clearly 27 of us, very interesting group. I love these kind of questions because, yes, I think a topic like an India Fact Quiz would really appeal to somebody who has a higher cause and a higher purpose. And for all that we may have a very negative imagery of politicians and bureaucrats, but fact of the matter is that if you really have to make change in the world, if you really want to change things within why the world, your community, your state where you live, It really has to be through the right channels, policy making. It's got to be through, government, through governance, and this is the route to go. 24 of you have said academia, and yes, I think that's a good place to be in. 18 of you, it's very heartening to say, have picked entrepreneurship. That is a tough journey, but it's also very gratifying, and the kind of value that you give to the country is absolutely tremendous and immense. And then we have 9 of you have said a corporate job. Why not? Sometimes it's okay to take this route as well, I guess. Okay, we get into the next. It's really a very, very short poll question. Do you think education and healthcare, these are the two silver bullets for any country to succeed, should be funded entirely by the government, should be entirely, doesn't matter it's government or private, but it should be not for profit. It should be the private system because private works best, and it does encourage efficiency, or funded by government and private sector. So clearly, we have a very good bunch who said we need sort of a blended model where it's you have government and you have the private sector, but you can't have just either one. It's best to have both. And then we have 27 who have said it should be government. We are still a socialist country, so that does make sense. 24 of you have said should be entirely not for profit. And I completely get where you're coming from, because the minute you take away the leer or the greed or the whole aspect of wanting profit from something and make it sort of more purpose driven, it does sort of also have a much more better meaning, and we can sort of focus on outcomes and focus on how to get the best out of this. And then 7 of you have said private system works best, and capitalism does have certain drawbacks, but clearly the pandemic has shown us that that in itself is not going to be enough. Okay, so I think that was the end of the poll question. We're going to get into the game of facts. This one, I must admit, is a little difficult, so don't be hard on yourselves. Whatever you answer, you've tried, and if you haven't got it right, you've actually walked away with a very important nugget of information. I must admit here, when I get into this, I'm equally, if not more, ignorant than all of you. And while I may sit here and say, well, obviously I've put this quiz together, and so I'll be smug and say I know it. But fact of the matter is, I knew zilch. I knew nothing, and every single question and every single fact was gobsmacking, or if not funny and interesting as well. Okay, so we're going to get into this week's game of facts, and it's been 25 weeks of quizzing. So congratulations to each and every one of you. You're very, very, very special to us. And we get into the first question, which is a true or false. The Motor Vehicle Act of 2019 provides for cashless treatment of road accident victims during the golden hour. And we've been talking, especially when it comes to highway accidents of the golden hour. And we're asking you, or making a statement here, and asking you whether it's true or false. So 75 of you are correct. I think the answer was in the question, but what the heck? It's a tough quiz, and sometimes if it is there, no big deal. But 75 of you did get it correct. In fact, the Motor Vehicle Act does provide for this cashless treatment. Most of us don't know it. So if this is an accident which has happened on a national highway, please remember that the road accident victim has to get treatment, especially if it is within the golden hour. And the golden hour is a very critical time frame. Interestingly, in the parliament in March this year, one question that was asked during the Lok Sabha session was, as to why we do not have well-equipped ambulances on the highways. And there was an acceptance from the Road and Highway Ministry stating that the ambulances are basic. So sometimes, instead of getting into the judgment spot of, why don't we have more sophisticated ambulances or, paramedical or whatever, it's okay, it's fine. If we know, then at least, we are aware that, okay, there is a basic ambulance. It probably is not going to have everything. How are we going to make sure, if we know somebody's involved in an accident or, something of that sort, how are we going to make sure that the person is safe? Or along the way, subtly, should you be taking down notes of maybe a helpline number? 1033 is a number that should come in mind when you're on highways or any of your friends are on highways, because that's when you can actually call up that number and ask for help. All right. So yeah, just some bits of information like this can help us in a difficult spot. Okay. This was the second question rather. And with this question, it's now Darshan, or sorry, rather, it's a first question. And Darshan, Madan, Yukta, Bharat, and Aroni are on the scoreboard. In fact, actually, I felt the poll questions felt like real questions this time, so forgive me. And yeah, this is your moment in the spotlight, so make the most of it. Darshan, you know more than anybody that this is so dynamic and keeps changing all the time. And I'm not going to waste any more time and get to the next question. All right. Number of rural habitations with high concentration of arsenic, fluoride, saline, nitrates, heavy metals in the groundwater are nearly 300,000 habitations, 48,000, approximately 200,000, or approximately 5,000 habitations across the country. We're talking about all states and union territories. Right. So 35 of you probably thought like, oh, it has to be a much higher number because we do hear a lot about it. And about 9 of you felt that probably somewhere in the middle, it's not that big an issue maybe, or, it probably is just concentrated in a certain jurisdiction or certain states or certain areas. This is becoming an increasing problem where our groundwater is being, we're seeing a lot of presence when we actually do quality testing of water, of fluoride and arsenic and nitrates, etc. And currently the government has recorded approximately 48,169 rural habitations where there is a very high presence of salinity, arsenic, etc. in the groundwater. And this actually has happened to a great extent because of the Jal Jeevan mission, where the government now has to make sure that they are monitoring and setting goals of ensuring that people that are living or habitations around these kind of areas are given portable water. And the idea is, and under this mission, the Jal Jeevan mission, that by 2024, every single rural household must get portable tap water. All right. So we'll take a look at what happened here. And then Madan is now on top, followed by Parisha, Pushpa, Vanshika, and Rohit. Girish is the highest climber with this question. But again, like I said, it's a very dynamic scoreboard, and you might see your name drop off or come back on or come back right at the end. So it's all a little exciting. All right. The next question. PM Swanidhi provides relief to those impacted by the pandemic working as construction workers, migrants, handloom weavers, or street vendors. So 41 of you got it correct. Swanidhi is for street vendors, and the objective is to provide some kind of working capital, which is a loan up to 10,000 rupees, just to give that immediate relief to resume business affected by the pandemic. So, just to give you a perspective, under this scheme, approximately 40.7 lakh applications were received, and about 23.6 lakh loans were sanctioned, and 19.3 lakh loans were dispersed. So these are small amounts. And I'll tell you, there's a little bit about why, therefore, getting street vendors registered, making sure that they're accounted for becomes all the more important. Especially, I think the pandemic has taught us some of these very bitter lessons that, if you have all your paperwork and you are registered, it just becomes much easier for you to get back on your feet if there is, God forbid, another calamity. All right. So with that, we'll take a look at the scoreboard, and we now have Pushpa in the lead. That's fantastic. Followed by Madan, Ria, Sakshi, and Parisha. I'm sure Madan's feeling a little left out now. It's like, what am I doing in this scoreboard, which is got a lot of female power, girl power. And with this question, Pranav is the highest climber. Great. Okay. The next question. There are 99 priority irrigation projects currently across the country. The state with the highest number is Punjab, Jharkhand, Maharashtra, or Uttar Pradesh. This is from 2016 to 2021. 99 identified priority irrigation projects, and 26 of you got it right. It is Maharashtra that is leading in terms of the largest number of projects, which are about 26 irrigation programs across the country. These are all being funded for, and then, in effect, it is also a bit about the bargaining power of states to make sure that they get centrally allocated funds for very important projects such as irrigation, etc. And given the pattern, especially of North Maharashtra, where you've had a lot of drought and there's been a lot of water crisis, there's also been reports of farmer suicide. These irrigation projects become that much more important, not purely from just a farming or a agriculture perspective, but also from a political perspective. All right. So here we have it, the scoreboard shifted very quickly. And now we have Madan, Pushpa, Darshan is back up again, Rohit and Aryan. And Sandria is the highest climber with this question. Okay. UDAN stands for Urban Development of Airport Network, Unified Development of Airport Network, Ude Desh Ke Aam Nagrik, or PM United Development of Airports Network. We know UDAN is a program which is meant to connect and have more airports around the country. Well, yes, if one were to think of it and say, oh, it must be a mnemonic, UDAN, Urban Development of Airport Network, I get that. But 28 of you know better. It's Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik. And this is a very important program because there is, of course, pre and post COVID, a lot has happened in air traffic, but domestic travel has been growing, and there is a lot of potential, and there is a huge market. So yeah, UDAN, we love these nomenclatures, we love these abbreviations. So here you have it, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik it is. All right. And the 9 of you who've said PM, whatever, I would have taken that one. So I must make that confession. So with this question, it's Madan, Pranav, Ria, Anna, and Ritesh who are on the scoreboard. Okay. the current number of greenfield airports that have an in-principle approval by the government of India, and we're talking about March 2021, the number is 52, 175, 10, or 21. What do you think is your pick? All right. So I think the 175 number is super, super optimistic. And probably I hope in our lifetime we reach to that point where we do have the kind of ambition that is befitting for the number of people we have and the kind of network we should have. But the number is indeed 21. There are 21 greenfield airports that have been given an in-principle approval by the government of India. In fact, we will see Goa getting an additional airport, and it's going to be 3 new airports in Maharashtra. West Bengal is on the list. There's Sikkim, Kerala. There's Karnataka, which I think has got a bulk of 4 greenfield airports that are going to come up. And then you have 1 in Madhya Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh has 2, so Noida is going to get an airport. Gujarat is going to have 2. And then there is 1 union territory only on the list, that is Puducherry, which will get 1. Andhra Pradesh has got 3 new airports approved. And then you have Arunachal Pradesh. So sometimes this kind of data tells you how the government is also prioritizing the various states and which are the emerging states, if you will, because we all know that the minute you have an airport coming up, the allied, or rather the direct and the indirect jobs and economic activity that happens around it is pretty tremendous. There's a lot that happens there. And therefore, you probably want to gravitate and think about, oh, should I be thinking of going to so-and-so place because there's a greenfield airport that's going to be coming up there? Well, these are things that you should be probably thinking about. If you're looking at going for college to some place and you think it's absolutely out of the way, but there is maybe in 3 or 4 or 5 years an airport that's going to come maybe near Bijapur or Hassan or somewhere, well, go for it. Don't let it stop you. There's an airport that's going to be coming up there soon enough. So you will make it in time home for holidays and all of that. These kind of bits of information are interesting, not just from, to know more, but also information that you can use. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm just digressing too much today, but I'll stick to the scoreboard. And it's Madan Pushpa, Mystic Ranger comes into the scoreboard, Ritish Kumar and Rahul. Okay, we'll get into the next question. India has, and we're just asking you, what is the number of international airports? Just classified international airports. Is it 43, 29, 12, or 8? So 13 of you got it correct. India has 29 international airports, and there are 7 out of all the greenfield airports, 7 of them are going to be international airports. All right. Okay. And the scoreboard with Pushpa now in the lead, followed by Madan, Aryan, Mystic Ranger, and Ritish Kumar. Another question. As on March 2021, India has established exclusive air bubbles with how many countries? Is it 15, 55, 10, or 27? It's very hard, especially given the Delta variant that came about, to really have these air bubbles. But we have managed, and this is sort of a bit of a diplomatic as well as a strategic bilateral kind of a win. And we have it, like 26 of you correctly said, 27 countries that we share air bubbles with. Okay, so it's Pushpa, Mystic Ranger, Madan, Mayur, and Ritish now on the scoreboard. The next question coming up, this is a puzzle. Now, the 3.5 lakh crore port modernization program, which is a Sagarmala program, has various factors or pillars allocated to it. We want to ask you, and I know this is a little difficult, so just take a couple seconds and understand it. The amount of money allocated for each of these activities. Is it the highest amount allocated for connectivity enhancement, or port-led industrialization, or coastal community development, or port modernization? How much amount based on the highest to the lowest has been allocated for the following activities? You guys impress me, because I actually was thinking this is extremely unfair a question. It's so unwieldy. It is so difficult. But this Sagarmala program is a very important one. And just to tell you how we're looking at priorities in terms of investment, clearly a bulk of it is going in for the port modernization part of it. And then we have the connectivity enhancement, you have the industrialization part of it, but the least amount, which is 5,444 crore, is going in for the coastal community development. And we do know that maximum of the displacement is going to happen by the coastal communities. And therefore, when you look at a 3.5 lakh crore program, and you look at the amount, which is just 5,000 odd crore that's going into the community development, it seems a little mismatched. But yes, this is a difficult question, and congratulations to those of you who did get it right. It's Madan, Rahul, Pushpa, Sid, and Mystic Ranger. To make things a little better, I have a slightly easier question to end this week's quiz with. And I'm really sorry. I'm sure you've not had seen, very difficult questions and unwieldy questions like this. So skip this one. But the rest of the questions I do hope you like. All right. Now, again, we're asking you to rank from high to low the states based on the number of international airports. Your options are Maharashtra, Kerala, Gujarat, and Karnataka. All of these are fairly industrialized, modern, um, forward looking, doing fairly well states. And we're asking you to rank from high to low the number of international airports in these states. Okay, I think this turned out to be slightly harder than the earlier one, but Kerala has 4 international airports, and clearly the highest uh, Gulf India traffic um, that happens in that corridor. And then you have Maharashtra, which has 3 international airports. Karnataka has 2. And if some of you thought maybe Karnataka has, because, India's answer to Silicon Valley, etc., well, that's a little misplaced. They have 2, that state has 2 airports, and Gujarat has one international airport. All right, so we've come to the end of this week's quiz, but we have a lot more quizzing ahead of us. It's going to be next Friday in Hindi at 5 p.m. with Meenal, and I'll be back with slightly a few more easier questions in on Saturday at 5 p.m. So just watch out for this space. Please follow us on Instagram. We do a lot of things, and we'll be putting out stuff on and off. So just track us, and we'll keep track of you. All right. So with that, I go to the final scoreboard, and then in the number 3 spot, see, I told you Vishnu jumped out of God knows where. And in the second spot, we have Madan. And in the lead, on the top spot this week, we have Rahul. Congratulations, Rahul, Madan, and Vishnu. And Pushpa and Sid are runner-ups. Pushpa, you played very, very well. Thank you all so much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you next Saturday at 5 p.m. But please join the Hindi quiz as well on Friday at 5 p.m. Take care, everyone, and stay safe.